What do you think it has to teach us about what it means to be part of a family, particularly a modern family?
I think what this film does is it captures family life. I think what Guy and Andy do actually in Outnumbered and in this film is they capture family life in a way that I don't see on screen normally. There's a sort of truthfulness to it and an honesty to it, and that's about how difficult it is and also how glorious it is. I think if you've ever been in a family or you have any aspirations to be part of a family, then you'll see something in this that you'll recognise, and I think that's why it's such a good film. It's fantastic because you've got Guy and Andy who know what they're doing. Improvisation can be terrifying if you just put in a room and it's like, just start acting and be funny. But because they know exactly what they're trying to get, and they know how to give the children all the tools they need without overburdening them with the sense that they have to hit A, B and C points. So they have a way of freeing the kids up to just be kids, and you get to see that on screen. And that's what I think we've all seen them doing Outnumbered so brilliantly, that they do in this film too, and it's glorious to be part of. And what the hardest thing is keeping a straight face, of course, while the cameras are rolling, because but the thing is they can come back and do our bits afterwards, so you just do the kids' bits and the cameras will roll often for a long time, and just little bits of that will be used, but it's I think the film speaks for itself, really.
Did you ever bicker with Rosamund Pike off set, because I know that you bickered with her on set a lot.
No, we didn't. No, she's so lovely. Have you talked to her tonight? I mean, she's so delightful. It would be very hard to bicker with her. She's
wearing sky-high stilettos and she's pregnant. It's fantastic.
I know. I'm having to stand up very straight, just but no, she's a joy. It was and great to work with. It's much easier to film arguments with people you get on with, because offset tension does not help the acting, I find. I don't really think of it as particularly a British film or a British comedy. You just sort of, each project that comes up, you take it for what it is, and this was a great script with some fantastic actors, and Guy and Andy, who I've admired for years, and I got to go back to Scotland to film it. I get to see my dad every weekend, so it was very lovely. It was.
When was the last time you got to film in Scotland? It
was this film, and before that, what was it before? Before that, I did a thing called The Escape Artist. We filmed a bit in Scotland, so I get to go up now and again, and it's always it's always an extra reason to do a job, definitely.
Talking of Scottish national pride, how you feel about the big vote and about the fact we now once again have a beautiful Scottish doctor?
So that's two very different questions. How do I tie them together? No, I didn't get a vote in the referendum, so I keep being asked. It's not really for me to say. I haven't lived there for nearly 20 years, so I took myself out of that particular debate. But I still feel very Scottish. I'm still very proud to be Scottish. Very happy to be wearing my kilt, and very happy that Scotland conducted itself, with as much democratic dignity as it did. I'm very proud of the homeland.
About Peter as the new Doctor, have you had a chance to catch his performance yet? What do you make?
He's brilliant. We always knew he was going to be brilliant, and he is. It's fantastic. I was a fan before. I just enjoy getting to be a fan of Doctor Who again and not knowing what comes next. And no, Peter's just he's proper. He's a joy. I knew it was that good, but then I think everything I do is that good. So I'm surprised when things don't get that reception. But no, it was a wonderful thing, and when something captures the kind of national consciousness like that, it's very humbling to be part of it. But it's also it's a real treat. It's kind of why it's why you tell stories to get people entranced. So it's wonderful, yeah.
A family go to Scotland to attend a granddad's birthday party, but a family that is splitting up, where the mother and father are splitting up, and are not handling that at all well. And so I suppose it's about that family learning to deal with it in a way that doesn't affect the children. I mean, that makes it sound like a sociology or documentary. So a lot of other things happen. But there's certainly one very unusual event that I'm not going to say at the moment, but I think will surprise audiences. We've got a part of a Scottish granddad. It's somebody who needs to have that sort of power, who needs to be able to improvise, who needs to make children laugh. So as you can imagine, our list was Billy Connolly, really. And David Tennant and Rosamund Pike were people that we just wanted to work with for years, because they've got that ability to be incredibly real and moving, but also that kind of comedy quicksilver. And, Ben Miller we've worked with before, Amelia Bullmore, is again an actress that we've had our eye on for a while. And then, of course, there's the children in the film, who, we spent a long, long time. We probably spent 6 months casting. We met an enormous number of children, many of whom were extraordinary. But I think these three were the best. And, it's hard for a child to... it's hard for a child to act, but it's also hard for them to sort of go away for 7 weeks. And they were just immense fun, really. It was like having a kind of alternative family. So, I think when you see the film, you'll see that they are very unusual. With the children, what we do is we only tell them the scene just before we film it. So they never see a script. They don't know the whole story. And so I suppose what we're trying to replicate is the way that I suppose young children experience life, as living very much in the moment. So what we get often is our lines, but our lines customized or just spoken in their own words. So I think that helps the naturalism. And also there's moments that we try and create a bit of space where we'll just set them off with some ideas and see what comes out. And often what does come out is a sort of 15-minute take. But out of that, you just get those really unusual lines and moments that only they can come up with. And, so it's probably, we knock it down to a minute, but and also it's just trying to make them feel at home, make them comfortable. With Rosamund and David, that they did somehow feel like a couple. And they kind of, before we even went filming, what they did was that they took the 3 children for a day out at Chessington, so they could kind of practice being a family. They spent most of their time in enormous queues, which I think is probably very good practice for what family life is like. But also they're just very, very good actors. I should mention that. But they did sort of work on creating a sort of alternative real-life family. Enjoy it. I hope they I hope they laugh at the jokes and cry at the serious moments rather than the other way around. And tell their friends about it.
Margaret is the sister-in-law of the main guy, David Tennant, and she's living up in Scotland with her very, very overbearing husband, played by Ben Miller, and she's mousy. And nobody ever listens to her, and nobody really cares what she thinks. But she quietly has a little turnaround in the course of the film. But it's a little part of the story, it's not the main story.
Working with an astonishing cast, people like Ben and David Tennant, can you just talk a little bit about that? And Billy Connolly, of course, a legend of the screen.
Yeah, well, you're almost scared when you meet him because you hope he's going to be funny and charming, and then he is, so it's all right. It's a happy ending. He's great. Yeah, they do steal the show. That's the deal. It's their story, and it's from their perspective, and they're just incredibly bright, open, talented people. Quite small, but they have the lot. I think it says, and you can't argue with it, that family life is imperfect, and just give it your best shot, but it can't be picture perfect.
So you're working in picture perfect locations, and are there any particular experiences from set that make you smile when you look back now?
The midges. We had a very extreme midge situation towards the end of filming. You can see them on screen, and in fact Ben had to mention that there were midges because they were visible, but that was very funny. But by the time that happened, everybody was so into the whole thing that they didn't mind. I think feel good is bandied about a lot, about things that never make me feel particularly good, and I think this is genuinely feel good, and it comes from a good, true, thoughtful place, and it's really funny, but it isn't sugary. It just gets that balance perfectly.
I think this story has to kind of teach us about what it means to be part of a family.
I think the only message that I took away is that quite frequently it's the adults who behave like children and the children who behave like adults. I also think there's a sort of wonderful moment in the film where the children are very much left through circumstance to their own devices, and I think it's very inspiring what children are capable of when adults choose to look away, and the sort of how enterprising and how imaginative and how inspiring their actions can be.
Watching the film, it seemed like one of the threads going through it is the ability to listen and how important it is, really.
Indeed, and I think, Andy and Guy point to that, the fact that often, harassed parents have a sort of, listening face that doesn't necessarily go with the brain that's listening. The main point is Andy and Guy, they're very human about the way they approach parents' fallibilities. They're not really pointing a finger and saying these are bad parents. They're just saying these are human people who make mistakes. Everyone makes mistakes. We took the 3 children who play our children in the film to Chessington World of Adventures, on the hope of sort of having a really normal family day out. But obviously Chessington World of Adventures and a lot of Doctor Who fans made it was maybe perhaps not like the sort of average family day out. But we were mobbed. Well, David was mobbed. It really is, and he's the most gracious doctor. I mean, I can't tell you, he's very, very. But I think the children were probably thrilled to have their sort of surrogate dad be quite so cool. There was one ride, I think, that David and I were able to go on twice, which was very exciting, because it was a.
Did he take you to any Scottish pubs when the camera stopped rolling?
Up in Scotland? No, there was one local pub where actually, Lewis, who plays Kenneth in the film, actually did a recital, rather like the recital in the film. I don't know quite if he played the same sort of music, but what was really nice was seeing Billy get his instruments out during our lunch break sometimes and just start forming a kind of impromptu band with the kids. That was really lovely to watch. Billy got his banjo and then went 4 days later to start preparing for Gone Girl. So, thank goodness I did this film right before, because I sort of, felt very centred, very heart whole, very happy before all that was ripped apart with Gone Girl.
David Fincher, did he really send a plane for you to come drink whiskey with him? There's rumours.
I think that is a story that has got incredibly twisted.
Okay, he just wanted to see that you were strong.
No, I think that's completely wrong. I did go and meet David Fincher in St. Louis, so I had to fly 8,000 miles just for a night to have dinner with him. But sending a plane, no, I like the fact that people think people send me planes, but it's not the case. I'm trying to actually just enjoy every moment. I fly to New York at 6:30 tomorrow morning, but right now I'm just trying to think I'm here, I'm enjoying this, I'm here about this film, so Gone Girl will wait till tomorrow. No.
Your reviews obviously came out today, and I saw a few things online today. Everyone is very excited, and I've seen a lot of reviews that have said that you deserve an Oscar from what they've even seen so far, and they haven't even seen the film. So how do you feel about that?
I don't know what to say. I think people are usually looking for news, aren't they? They're looking for something, and next week it'll be somebody else. So that's generally what I think. It's lovely, but I think we're in this giddy merry-go-round. So there's always everything can change in an instant.
It's about a typical family, and that they go on holiday and have so much fun and experience a roller coaster, really up and downs.
What was it like having David Tennant as your daddy?
Oh, absolutely brilliant. Everyone was brilliant, and David's, best dad ever, apart from my real one. Best acting dad.
Did you get any advice from the grown-ups, from people like Billy Connolly and David Tennant? Did they give you any acting advice, any tips?
No, not at all. No, we just did our bit.
What was your favourite bit of filming? Was there a particular scene that was the most fun to work on?
Yes, I fall off the back of the sofa on one of the scenes, so that was funny. Yeah, really good. My favourite part of the film was when we set fire to the raft, and also I loved it when I said, well, that's just rude. And I also liked the part when I also said, are you a short sailor?
What was it like working with Billy Connolly?
It was amazing to be with him, because he was one of the bestest people in the world, and he was also one of the bestest people inside of the film. So I thought he was a very nice person.
It just teaches us that it doesn't matter how good you are or how bad you are, just if you love each other, then that's all that matters.